Welcome to the Process Podcast.
From new agent to broker owner.
My name is Travis McClure. This is my co-host, Preston Guyton. Welcome to the Process Podcast. This is Travis McClure and my twinning co-host, Preston Guyton. If you're listening to this and not watching it, Preston and I accidentally wore the same t-shirt today.
Yeah, I thought for sure, hey, if I wear a Follow Boss t-shirt, Travis is probably not going to be wearing
it. So unofficially, our podcast is sponsored by Follow Boss today.
And Rankin, Carolina. If you want me to wear your brand, send me a good hat.
Yeah. Anyway, man. So lots of big news in our company this week. Happy to announce. I'll let you announce it here. What was the big news in our company this week, Preston?
Yeah, so we've been searching for, 6 months, kind of talking about it, wanting to have a woman in leadership, in the broker in charge role. And we've, I think we found if we dreamt up somebody for that position, I think we found the perfect person. Brandy Campbell came on, was announced yesterday. She transferred her license Sunday night. She committed about a month ago, and it was very, very difficult to keep that a secret from everybody, just because, it's different when somebody tells you a secret and you keep the secret because you don't want, it's totally, when you're super excited about sharing something and you got to keep it a secret for 30 days. It's very challenging because we wanted to let our team know and be excited with us. And it was she got to speak to our team yesterday. We had a team meeting. We told them it was mandatory. We usually have where they could watch the meeting on Zoom via Zoom, and they all showed up and probably had 80 people there.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say 75, 80, somewhere around
there? It was a full room.
Yeah, it was a full room. I don't know. I just know it was a full room.
Yeah.
And she got up there, and she's just a powerful woman, and she's somebody you could listen to talk, and she could relate with the agents. She comes obviously in the sales business and as an agent for 10 or 12 years, I think. So she's going to be really great addition for our team for sure.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited about it. Our leadership circle got elevated yesterday. I'm a firm believer you're an average of the people you spend the most time with, or the people you work with, or the people that you surround yourself with. And we elevated yesterday. So,
100%. Yeah.
And I'll say this too, Josh Mitri, who was our broker in charge, he hasn't left our company or anything like that. And what I think is exciting and cool is, like, as our company has grown, there's new roles that have evolved, right? And Josh is taking on one of those new roles that I think just better fits and suits his strengths as a leader.
Oh yeah. I mean, him being broker in charge was never going to be the long term.
Right.
It was, I don't think it was something he really enjoyed doing. And it's really not suited. And I'm a firm believer of, any company, and I think it's something I'm good at is choosing the right people and putting them in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you have somebody that's not in a position that excites them, then you need to move them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times it's not the individual, it's actually the position they are in. So him going to more of like I shared yesterday, of coaching, training, focus on agent retention, relationships within our company is something that he'll excel at. And it's excited to see him grow into that position.
Yeah. And I think if you look at our leadership team, you have just like really defined roles within our team. And like, it's been exciting for me because, like, when I came on board with you guys, I was kind of your first, I guess Tripp and I kind of came on at the same time. Like, Tripp was over development. I came on as an operations manager, and it was still like, each of us had a lot of hats, and now we've hired other staff, and now we've obviously added Brandy, and Josh has taken this role. And my role has even evolved in the last 12 months, you know what I mean? To something different that I think better suits my strengths. And it's exciting to see that. I think as a leadership team, we all have these really defined focuses where we're not all trying to run around and put out the same fires.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole goal is to get to a place in the business where you're not jumping from fire to fire. You're each focused on individual things. And obviously there's some overlap helping in some areas and everything else, but from bringing Tripp on and solely focus on that agent excellence program, it was exciting. I think he said they put people in the Agent Access program put $6.5 million under contract last month, that have been through that program, and they've closed 113 contracts, and I think over 40 pending right now or something like that. So, him being in charge of that, you coming on as, operations, and then it's kind of evolved into now over the ISA management and the ISA team, which we'll talk about here shortly. But it's, and then Brandy coming on is just added strength to that leadership team.
Yeah, it's like we had the right people on the bus, but now everybody's sitting in the right seat.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how I feel after yesterday. I kind of left that meeting yesterday. The energy in the room was great, and and Josh is a friend of mine too, right? I've gotten to know Josh really well, and just talking to him, he's excited about the role he's now in. Like, he feels like he's in the right seat. So yeah, it just was a good move all the way around. So Preston, other than the new broker in charge at Palms, what other big announcements we have going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about it often on here, and, that's how we generate leads for, our company and companies across South and North Carolina, soon to be across the Southeast. So I'm getting on a call today with the developers. We've been working on Easy Home Search, the new website, for the past, I don't know, 8 months, 6 months. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a while though. And I think it has been 8 months. Yeah. So we started in August and actually started building it out in November. So planning August. And so anyway, I'm meeting with them today on a Zoom call, and I get the login to look at the beta. So I'll be able to go in there because there's content and stuff I have to do, right? So there's content we have to add for all the pages and everything else, because they build the structure of the site, and then we have to go add the content, interlinking and all those things. So we get access to that today, and hopefully, we will. We'll have a live site by the end of May.
Wow.
Which is exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking at the same time, because you think about it, you're switching to a total new platform. Obviously, we're doing all the things that we shouldn't lose much organic. You're always going to lose some organic traffic because it's totally different.
Sure.
But it usually, the way it's built out, we should regain it and then go much higher pretty quickly. So it's nerve-wracking because, I was pulling up the numbers this morning on a post I shared. Easy Home Search roughly generates about 250,000 organic visits a month. So that organic traffic value monthly, based on the keywords that it shows up for, if you were to go into AdWords and build out an AdWords account to show up for all those keywords and all that traffic, you'd spend about $150,000 a month.
Right.
So you can imagine it's a little nerve-wracking thinking, hey, I have this site that's performing really well. We rebuilt the new site because there was a lot of limitations in the current site. So what we built is superior, but it's, Google's, you could try and understand how it's going to react, but you never know.
Right.
Like they don't give you a step-by-step process of say, hey, build out a website this way, and we'll show up and it'll benefit. But we're doing all the things. We're moving all the blog content, all the content that pushes to the inner pages. So all those things will line up. It's just it's exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time.
I imagine. And you've also set up, I see, where a lot of companies and users can come in from the real estate side. They can actually beta test some of this.
Yeah. So we're going to start. So eventually we'll be selling, they're memberships, so they're not leads. Like, we're not selling leads. It's a membership based on each county, but we're giving teams and companies access to, so say somebody registers for a county near Charlotte, North Carolina, or they inquire on a property, it's going to be delivered. What's cool about it, it's actually going to be delivered to their CRM. So it's going to deliver that information to their CRM with the property they're inquiring about. So it's exciting that, in that aspect. Like right now we have to do it manually.
Yeah. So
this will automatically happen. And we're also building it out. Like, there's not many of these. If you think of like a home site portal or somewhere consumers go to search, a majority of them, I don't know if any, go to the local level and actually offer resources. Like, we're going to have resources in every county and every city we're in. So whether it's an attorney, there's going to be opportunities to advertise for attorneys, for mortgage, for home insurance, for, maybe the landscaper, maybe the moving companies. at state level or county level. So that's something that we're going to start, we're going to do a lot more of that localized content that helps the consumers and helps the users to gather information.
I know, like in our market, people all the time that move, because our market's a lot of people who've just moved here. I see, like, even just in my community page that I live in, like, hey, does anybody know a fence person? Does anybody know
Oh,
this?
yeah.
Anybody? People are always looking for those other.
Yeah, I mean,
pull that together.
one of the things is like, how deep do you go? Like, how far do you go with resources, right? Because you could go and you could have hundreds. And hundreds.
You really could, yeah.
But I mean, we're going to kind of stick at like we'll have some home builders, and then or maybe home builder resources, or maybe we'll just leave that up to the agents. But we'll have like more like if you need stuff done around your house, like maintenance types companies and things like that. So yeah, I mean, that's exciting because, that gives us, I mean, building something like this out is very expensive and maintaining is very expensive. So, part of it is like, how can we generate more revenue to continue to grow the website, to continue to generate more leads for the agents and the companies where they're not spending hundreds of dollars per lead for Zillow. I mean, the idea with this is, it's a $2.99 a month membership per county.
Yeah.
We eventually want to get, so that membership, you roughly get about 15 to 30 leads a month. So as the organic traffic grows, the amount of users grow, and we're doing some really unique stuff with AI as far as with search too. It's not going to be launched at the initial, but phase 2, phase 3, we're going to have some really cool things.
Good. Let's get into some like training stuff today, Preston. Something like I've had the opportunity to through you speak to some other ISA teams, and through a mentorship role or even just mastermind role. And one of the big misses that I've seen, I've learned even being in my own role, where you've had to kind of shift focus and put a process and a system in place from an ISA perspective, is after you hand off the lead.
Yeah.
Like we've had a great conversation with somebody, we've qualified them in some way, and LP Mama, whatever that looks like for your company, and now we've handed them off to an agent. I can tell you a big miss for us for a little while, and from what I've seen from other teams and talking to them, is okay, now we've connected with an agent, ISAs move on to other work, but that whole process after the handoff to get them to the closing table.
Yep.
And I've learned, Preston, we'll talk through it, is a lot of times the agents just need a little more support after that handoff.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's you could almost look at it as like more nurture, right?
Yep.
When you're the ISA, because
it's a great way to put it. Actually,
it's you have to, because the compensation is tied a lot of times to those handoffs by the ISAs, and that's how they're compensated. So they want to make sure.
I know that got me focused on it.
Yeah, they want to make sure that the agents are doing their job and doing what they're supposed to, because there's there's things they have to do to meet to actually be on rotation.
Right.
But you'd be surprised that a lot of them just, for whatever, maybe they're too busy or whatever the reason is, you have to have some type of system, because if the agent's not doing a good job, or maybe they are doing a good job and they just can't reach them, it's good for the ISA to pick up the phone or shoot a text message or whatever it may be, to the consumer. Or, if the agent isn't making the calls, then go ahead and reach out to the consumer and say, hey, have you been able to get on the phone with whatever agent? If they say, hey, no, they haven't contacted me, then it's a good time to take that lead back to the ISA and, build a relationship with somebody else.
Yeah. And the process that I put in place as the ISA team lead, or even for the ISA to hand off the lead on our team, like I've created some ownership. Like if I've handed this lead off to Preston, I've created some ownership as the ISA to make sure that the lead is getting the customer service that we talked about. Right. So what I put in place is every single day, Preston, myself and the ISAs on the team, we do an audit, right? And we do that as the last part of the day. And we start with the leads we handed off today, and we work our way backwards all the way to the last 60 days, right? And we're all looking at the individual leads that we've handed off, and we're looking for a couple different things. Number one, for the leads we've handed off today, did the agent recognize and see that they have a lead handoff, and have they contacted the person, right? Make sure the appointment wasn't missed to actually contact that person. So that's number one, right? That's the basics. The other part of it I've noticed is a lot of times an agent will try one time, the person doesn't answer the phone, and there's no follow-up call from the agent, right? That's it, right? And then you hear, oh, these leads are no good.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, well, one time I talked to them and they're very interested in buying a home. Right.
Yeah.
So what does happen a lot of times is the agent attempts contact and the people do not recognize the agent's phone number. They're getting berated maybe with other calls from other sites they were on. But they had a great conversation with me, right? And they recognize my phone number, right? Maybe we're texting back and forth. Maybe, we've had a few phone conversations at this point. So what I do at that point is I give a call, or the ISA gives a call and says, hey, Preston's been trying to contact you from our team. He's going to be your boots on the ground to open doors and show you homes. He just wants to have an initial conversation with you and talk about what you're trying to achieve. This way you guys can come up with a game plan, right? And sometimes that little conversation, oh, okay, I've seen that. I just didn't recognize, right? And that actually opens the door for Preston to actually get in contact with him. That's a huge miss that we've actually added.
Yeah.
That's just forged that a little bit.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see, and once we have more data, because we're using interface, all the appointments, we're actually keeping up with. I mean, we're keeping up with the appointments before, but we're going to have with interface and then obviously CISU and follow-up boss as well. 6 months from now, we're going to be able to go back and look at, say, because like a lot of people ask, like, what is your conversion rate on pay-per-click? Well, conversion rate in general is a lie because, company A could take out bad phone numbers. Company B could take out bad phone numbers or bad email addresses. Company C could just say, okay, my conversion rate is based on the leads we hand off. So there's never really like a total, and it's too hard to gauge because every market is different. Like here in Myrtle Beach, we're we have 20 million visitors a year, 18 million, whatever that number is. So there's always that dreamland. Like somebody comes in town, hey, I want to buy a condo. And then they go back home, well, we really can't afford a condo, or it doesn't make sense because we wouldn't use it as much. So there's that, there's that side of it with, it's hard to really like quantify what that conversion is. But something you can track, especially with an ISA team that is important, is what is that conversion based on the leads that are handed off?
Yes, absolutely. And I think a couple different pieces, and here's another thing I've learned from talking to different ISAs and different ISA teams, is a couple different things that can impact that number. Number one is the follow-up piece that we're talking about, right?
Yes,
going back and
100%.
auditing what you've handed off, right? And making sure that, hey, they're getting a call, making sure there's been a contact. The other thing I look for when I audit Preston is I always ask myself, as I'm looking at a lead I've handed off, what's the next step, right? Like I look at the last communication that the agent had with the person. Okay, what's their next step? And is there a task in place? And if there's not, I go in the comments and I'll say, hey, and say Preston's the agent. Hey, Preston, just curious what the next step with John is.
Yeah.
How can I support you in some way?
Yeah.
Right. And then what that's created is the agents know we're checking. So they're actually doing a better job at putting that information in there.
Well, you look at it this way, like what's the goal for an ISA to hand off 50 leads a month, 40 leads a month, whatever that number is for your company. Obviously, it's going to be different with different companies based on the amount of leads you generate, your database size and everything else. But when you're an ISA and say that number's 40 a month. Yeah. Right. So when you think about it, like to go back and say, okay, I'm going to focus on these things, but also at the end of every day, I'm going to go through the 40 that I've handed off the last 4 months or 3 months or 6 months, whatever that is. It's not going to take you a whole month to get through those. You could get through those, maybe in, I don't know, a couple of days at the end of each day, however many hours you spend on it.
It doesn't take very long.
Yeah. Because a lot of it are going to be like, oh, this one's good. They're doing a good job of communication. This one's good. This one's good.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to have a lot of activity for every single one.
Yeah.
So that's, I think just like nurturing a database and nurturing a client, when you hand it off from the ISA to the agent, you need to continue to nurture that client because that's, like I said, a big part of the compensation for most ISA structures.
Yeah. And going back to what you were talking about conversion, what I think the other thing where conversion rates get a little bit skewed too is there's a couple of things. Number one, we're a long nurture market.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think you posted something. What's the average like lead that closed was like 13 months, 14 months, something like that?
Yeah, 13 to 14 months. Actually across all different ones, like somebody puts it in an SOI or somebody puts it in the lead, comes in pay-per-click or Facebook, social media. It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
It's a pretty similar incubation period.
The other thing I think a lot of people, and I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, the other thing that will impact your conversion rate and that time, of course, is just the market that you're in.
Yeah.
If you went back 2 years ago and we were having this conversation, it was easy to say like, hey, like 50% of what we hand off closes. right? Because you had people calling up and say, hey, I want to see this house. I want to put an offer in on this house. That's not the market that we're in now. Now,
No.
even the conversations we're having as ISAs, like I'm talking to people and like, they're not ready to hand off. I have to nurture it, right? It's like, okay, well, I'm going to call them back in 30 days or 60 days. And then the next time I talk to them, it'll be a handoff, right? So you have a lot of different, I think, variables that impact conversion rate. That's why I think it's kind of a skewed number. But the other thing I found, Preston, a team ISA that I was coaching that were just struggling with conversion rates is just the qualification piece.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. I saw just listening to a client's calls. This is a client that we coach, and somebody, a lead called, put a request to see a property on the internet, right? ISA makes contact with them. They're like, yeah, we want to see this property. And it's like, okay, great. Hands it off to the agent. Doesn't ask any qualifying questions, right? Like, what's their motivation? Like, when do they plan to buy? Or they, did they talk to a lender, or are they planning to talk to a lender, or are they even working with another agent? Like, none of that was asked, right? So what happens in that scenario is they get over to the agent maybe, or should, ask those questions, and the agent realizes they're not really ready to buy. So what does the agent do? The agent goes and focuses on other stuff. That lead kind of falls by the wayside, right? So that'll destroy your conversion rate if you're not qualifying we get so excited to hand somebody off sometimes, but you got to make sure, like, are they in that 60 to 90-day window of buying? Are they willing to talk to a lender, or do they have a plan of how to pay for what they're trying to purchase? And then, are they not working with another agent?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the numbers, like if somebody's doing a good job of qualifying the leads and handing off the appropriate leads, I mean, your conversion rate should easily be 10% on the leads you hand off. And we'll have really good numbers, say, in 6 months based on of what we're doing now, because you just took over this role. We just brought on Casey about 2 months ago now. So we're going to go ahead and tell everybody what we're struggling with today.
So we've had to start and stop the podcast several times. So it's only like the 50th episode we've made, but we forgot to charge our camera. So if you were podcasting, that's a key thing. So what happens is we talk for like 5 to 10 minutes and the camera battery dies. So it's kind of funny. So if you're watching or listening to this, it seems a little bit fragmented in terms of the editing. It's not that we're editing stuff out, it's our camera keeps dying.
Yeah.
But
and we both forget what we were just talking about. So I figured that would be better to kind of talk about what we're struggling with instead of trying to cut it together.
So, we typically try not to edit this a whole lot.
No, we don't really edit it much.
But this one's a little bit edited, and I'm blaming 100% the camera.
It is the camera.
But I take ownership. We should have charged the camera.
Yes, you should have. I'm blaming it on you.
But kind of summarizing what we were talking about is just getting better conversion and what you do hand off. And on the front side, it's doing a really good job of qualifying those leads. LP Mama is a great script to make sure your team's using. I like to break it down even simpler than that. Like, are they motivated? When are they going to buy? Are they qualified? How do they plan to pay? And are they loyal? Are they working with other agents? Right? Like motivated, qualified, loyal.
Yeah.
And then the backside of that, like where we've really fine-tuned and put a process in place, is going back, and I call it just auditing the handoff.
Yeah.
What's the next step from the agent, and is there a task in place? That's the main things you're looking for.
Yeah. And one other thing to add before we get shut off again is, if you're a team or a team or company or whatever, and you're starting to go into generating a lot of online leads, you're hiring a company and somebody's, maybe Chep Black Digital, to generate pay-per-click leads for you or whatever you're doing, don't just give it off to the ISA team and say, hey, do this. There's a lot of coaching, a lot of training out there. There's a lot of free coaching, free training. Definitely get your ISA team in something like that to learn, because it's very difficult. And they'll become a lot of times they'll end up quitting because they don't have the success, especially when you're tied, in a job and it's a lower salary. And a lot of what your income is tied to closings. So definitely get them the right training, the right coaching, the systems in place that they could follow daily. And it'll greatly benefit, what they're doing.
Yeah. And I'd love to, in a future, we have like 2 future episode guests we're going to plan to have on. We're going to have Brandy Camlarn, our broker in charge. So I think it'd be great to hear her speak. Yes. She has a great story. So that's definitely a future guest coming up. And then Travis Halverson.
Yes.
He is, I call him young Travis, but I've personally learned a lot from Travis, hearing him talk and and just being on different things with him. I want to talk through some ISA, what I call priorities of work with him, because he's a genius really when it comes to ISA stuff.
Oh yeah.
But Preston, that's all I got for today.
Yeah, man. We got to get out of here before we get shut off.
Guys, have a great rest of your day. Have a great week. And we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.